Lately, it appears many people are discussing traps as a term and questioning if it is a slur to the transgender community. Along with this is if the meme, "Are traps gay?" is hateful to the LGBT community and seeking answers to life's ultimate question while wondering which anime characters are trap, transgender, or something else. This has created a division on who is right and wrong in these arguments on social media, with each person trying to assert their beliefs as correct. However, I started to notice a pattern with many people who posted a video regarding traps that seems to add more fuel to the fire rather than helping it. If you listen to each person's definition of a trap, it sounds like they are talking about the same thing, but in actuality, each definition has slight changes that escalate the problem further. For instance, someone like the Unknown Otaku will have a definition that allows someone to be both trans and trap.
A trap is what looks like a girl, but is said to have a dick. I'm pretty sure you know what females and males at least generally look like. My standard to consider you to be a transgender is an individual that transiently or permanently with a gender that is different from their natal gender, as defined by the American Psychiatric Association.
Under his definition, a male to female transgender could be considered a trap if they do not have gender confirmation surgery as they maintain a hold of their penis. Yet someone who cross-dresses that passes as a girl can be a trap as well. On the other hand, another YouTuber such as Miss ZZ will make trap and transgender separate terms from each other.
In anime, a trap is referring to a boy who looks and dresses so feminine that they are often mistaken for females. A trans woman is a person who was born biologically male, and through medicine, she works to alter and achieve a female physique. They go through a lot of bullshit to feel comfortable in their own skin, but in the end, it makes them happier and that's good for them.
While they may appear to be the same on the outside, their definitions are different from each other, and I think this leads to the confusion on the topic of people not knowing what traps or transgender even are that connects or separates them. So, that is why I'm here today, to go over how people are murkily muddling the definition of trap that loses sight of its definition and further complicates matters for everyone. While I am at it, I will explore if it is a slur alongside the "Are traps gay?" meme, and I will examine the Lily Hoshikawa debacle while exploring several other anime and manga characters on if they are transgender or a trap. Before we dive in, this video will focus primarily on the videos done by Appabend, ContraPoints, Miss ZZ, the Pedantic Romantic, and the Unknown Otaku, as I think their ideas are the more diverse of the bunch and they bring up points that I want to discuss that other videos may not cover entirely. To note, some videos focus primarily on one or two topics while not discussing another. An example being Miss ZZ going over the word trap and if it is a slur, and not commenting on the meme or Lily Hoshikawa. If you think I am cherry-picking my videos, then you are correct, because that brings me to my first point. Regardless of them subconsciously or intentionally doing it, each person's definition of a trap always supports their arguments no matter what. This can apply to their definition or views on transgender as a term as well. When people are arguing for something, they want to solidify their points as the strongest. They will structure their words and phrases carefully to support their ideas. While there may be nothing wrong with creating a strong argument, the use of varying definitions can lead to confusion when searching for other material on the matter. This is particularly noticeable in Appabend's video on Lily Hoshikawa, where he says his viewers say Lily is trans, but his friend says she is a trap. He goes with his friend on Lily being a trap after watching the episode due to her putting on performance. Appabend's definition of a trap is very loose, as he says it is:
a trans person is someone who suffered from gender dysphoria, and a trap is someone who cross-dresses for various purposes.
He believes Lily is a trap due to her being a performer as her reason for cross-dressing, thus remarking that she is a trap. The loose definition furthers his narrative on Lily being a trap. However, other people's definitions seem to reinforce their ideas as well. ContraPoints states that the word trap refers to both a trans woman and male cross-dressers to reinforce her thesis on the word being a derogatory term against trans women.
Are traps gay? the meme, that will not die. Originating around 15 years ago on 4chan, the word trap refers to either a male crossdresser or a trans woman, especially in a context of neotenous kawaii decadence.
The Pedantic Romantic follows a similar narrative that the term is damaging the trans woman, yet insists traps do not exist as well. Her definitions of a trap relates to its history of evolving as a term, where it started originally as a boy who looks like a girl that acts feminine and deceives others, but started to encompass trans women as well.
So, in response to posts of cute anime girls that were actually cute anime boys in disguise, people would post, "It's a trap," to warn of that bait and switch, and relatively quickly, people began to refer to this type of character as traps, because it is a trap. So, at the very latest, starting in 2007, trap extended to describe not just actual people, but specifically actual trans people, not simply cross-dressing men.
On the other end of the spectrum, the Unknown Otaku says,
A trap is what looks like a girl, but is said to have a dick. I'm pretty sure you know what females and males at least generally look like.
and thinks it is different from transgender, who identifies differently from their natal gender.
My standard to consider you to be a transgender is an individual that transiently or permanently with a gender that is different from their natal gender, as defined by the American Psychiatric Association.
Though someone can be both transgender and a trap.
So yes, Lily is 100% a trap, but a trap can also be a trans.
He uses this to assert that traps exist, as they are parallel with transgender as an umbrella term that can contain trap. Similarly, he says trap isn't a slur because it isn't aimed at an entire group, because you
wouldn't call someone who dressed up like an Astolfo that looked nothing like a female a trap, because you still need to look like a female to be considered a trap.
However, Ms. ZZ seems to be the one who separates trap from transgender explicitly, where
in anime, a trap is referring to a boy who looks and dresses so feminine that they are often mistaken for females. A trans woman is a person who was born biologically male, and through medicine, she works to alter and achieve a female physique. They go through a lot of bullshit to feel comfortable in their own skin, but in the end, it makes them happier, and that's good for them.
Since both terms are different, that means trap cannot be a slur because it isn't referring to trans women. Right now, we have 5 similar yet different definitions of a trap that seems to only further each other's points. This can be applied to other commentators who post definitions in their videos as well, such as the Unknown Otaku bringing out the definition of slur in his video, Miss ZZ citing Urban Dictionary for anime trap, and a plethora of left-wing and right-wing YouTubers posting their own definitions of sex, gender, feminism, capitalism, socialism, and other political ideologies to drive their points home. Usually, a definition is something most people can agree upon or understand is similar based on necessary requirements. For example, adults may know the difference between cats and dogs due to the difference in species, but a young child may not know if they are different or not because they appear similar to each other. This welcomes the idea of intentional definitions and extensional definitions. Intentional definitions are ones that state necessary conditions that need to be met to identify something, while extensional definitions list things that apply to the definition. Back to the cats and dogs example, the intentional definition may contain having fur, walking on 4 legs, and being household pets, but to differentiate the two would be their families, Felidae and Canidae. Regarding the extensional definitions, this would probably list different breeds of each animal, such as Siamese, Ragdoll, and Persian cats, versus German Shepherd, Shiba Inu, and Labrador dogs. While we may have an extensional definition of traps with many characters to fall under, we do not have an intentional definition of trap as observed by the YouTuber's comments. Even if we go to Urban Dictionary like Ms. ZZ, we have 7 different definitions for trap that are user submitted that can relate to traps or not entirely. I am saying knots right now because everyone's idea of a trap is a bit blurry, and we do not have a general idea of what a trap is. While people can agree on cross-dressing and maybe even the deceiving factor, some people think a trap needs to be gay, a trap is also a trans person, trap isn't a trans person, and so many other possibilities that just make this argument completely pointless because people are discussing different things. People do not have a general idea on the basis they should argue for, except definitions they think is appropriate in their worldview, rather than trying to determine who or what a trap actually is. I'll be honest, I thought trap was synonymous with transgender, but I may have been mistaken. I thought I knew what it meant because I saw it was under the same umbrella as transgender and crossdresser, but they may not entirely be the same thing. However, this doesn't apply to solely me, but most people I see commentating on issues where they use words they do not entirely know or show definitions that aligns with their arguments. That isn't to say it is as bad to not know something, as everyone can learn something, but it can cause confusion when discussing matters that someone has little knowledge on or showing a definition different from their own. When people refute each other's points, they think they are arguing over the same exact thing, but it is in the fine details that assures their arguments are on different pages. I do not want to think I am directing it at these individuals featured in this video. It is a pattern I notice in many YouTubers' videos that do commentaries or essays. I don't want to seem like I am condescending, but I do want to see improvement in everyone's videos within this community, because each person contributes something valuable to the discussion, but conflicts often arise due to the confusion. So, to stifle the confusion, I think it is best that everyone comes together and figure out what a trap is. The best solution to this problem, and many other problems around traps, is to determine its definition. This will help us possibly answer if a trap is a slur and if traps are gay. Now, we have an extensional definition to go off of to determine the characteristics. Possibly. A list of traps can help us determine the conditions, but some like Lily Hoshikawa and others are still debatable. However, the extensional definition is determined based off the intentional definition, so working backwards may not be wise here. For the most part, most people seem to agree that a trap is a boy who looks like a girl. These conditions are vague, but if we focus on the boy part, we can say a trap is a man that identifies as a male but presents as female. As a result, this should eliminate trap as a slur for anyone who is transgender. Hopefully. Now we can look at people's arguments for trap as a slur. The Unknown Otaku brings up a point about slurs referring to a group of people, and since trap isn't specifying a specific group, it isn't a slur. Something I can do is bring up several definitions that refute the Unknown Otaku's points, as a slur can be used for just a single person to insult them, but that would be playing into my idea of people cherry-picking definitions to fit their narrative. However, this leaves out the issue of people using it to call trans women the same thing. While I do see his point on the matter that people often use slurs to target a specific group of people, there are some who will use it for their own purposes. ContraPoints and the Pedantic Romantic bring up the issue of the trans panic defense, and that trans women feel shamed and disrespected because trap invalidates their existence. These are concerns that need hearing to because everyone needs to have a voice, but the word trap might be inappropriate for trans women to describe them. One thing I saw mentioned in the comment sections of these videos were that trans women identified with the term trap. Both ContraPoints and the Pedantic Romantic go over trans women trying to take action to make trap their own term, but this brings up another issue. Some people who identify as a trap and not trans believe transgender people are appropriating the term that should be exclusively for them. It is under this belief that trans people are forcibly applying trap to themselves because of the vague idea of a trap being a boy who looks like a girl. However, it can also be people that do not know if there is a difference between trap and transgender, using it in their own way to either support or insult either party. This mass confusion only leads to problems because no one knows what a trap even is at this point. This is why my definition of a trap being someone that identifies as a male but presents as female should resolve several issues. A trap would be a man that still identifies as male but dresses as a female. This should remove trans women from the picture because transgender people identify as something other than their natal gender. Furthermore, it means that trap would still be an act to those who identify as such and can continue doing what they do. This fixes everything, right? Wrong. My definition isn't perfect, and I do not know if trap will still be used to insult people after this. In fact, this may add more firepower to those who think transgender people remain their biological sex regardless of transition. Another issue is that even though I understand the concerns of traps, some of the transgender community finds comfort in a term on their journey while others detest it. I do not know if trap should be used or not, but I do think it is the first step in addressing these issues is to give it a definition people can get behind. There may be issues of creating a checklist for a trap to identify one, but people need to know how to differentiate between trap and transgender. That way, people's arguments can be grounded on the same thing instead of people arguing over varying meanings of trap. Now, we can move on to one thing that needs addressing regarding this argument. Are traps gay? I want to be upfront. I recognize Are Traps Gay clearly as a meme, but people genuinely appear to take it seriously. However, my idea of the meme is that it is a question that requires deconstruction. Most people focus on if the trap themselves are homosexuals or if it is gay to like traps, but I always found it fascinating that it could mean many things. Are traps happy? Are traps stupid? Are traps homosexuals? Am I homosexual for liking traps? Can traps like other traps and be gay with each other? If a bear trap captures a lobster trap and I find it erotic, am I gay? These can have different meanings, especially considering that trap and gay have several definitions that describe different things. For instance, a trap can refer to the item to catch something or the verb to try to capture something, as well as the individual we are discussing here today. While I'd like to dive in more on this discussion, I'm going to focus on the apparently popular question if the trap themselves are gay. People lean either to the idea that since it is a guy trying to seduce another guy, that he is gay, while another party leans to the idea that since the trap is presenting as a female, they are straight because it is an act. Something of note is that the definition Miss Zizi uses inclines most traps have to be gay. I'm going to answer this. Anyway, which is correct. Let's take a look through the records of traps. Briefly, I want to mention how some YouTubers focus primarily on recent traps or more well-known traps in anime in their videos. Right now, I want to bring up a few traps I remember fondly while growing up and transitioning because this goes back a few decades, as the Pedantic Romantic points out. This is to articulate a point, but how would traps be gay? If we recognize a trap still identifies as male, that must mean they will be gay if they like another male, right? Well, how about if they like a female? That would mean they're straight, right? Or would it be the reverse, where since they're presenting as female, two females in love with each other would be inherently gay? Probably a recognizable character of this situation is Mizuho Miya no Koji from Otome wa Boku ni Koishiteru, where the premise is that he has to attend an all-girls school on the wish of his deceased grandfather, where he needs to dress in female clothing to hide his male identity. Due to these circumstances, he is really the only male character in the series besides some one-offs. This results in Mizuho focusing on the female characters as love interests, and it could be interpreted as Yuri since it is two or more girls in love with each other. However, since Mizuho still identifies as male, this would make him straight in this case. Another example is Hamaji Yakumo from H2O Footprints in the Sand, a character who cross-dresses regularly in the series. In the final episode, it is revealed that he works as a maid, yet has a baby boy with his wife Maki, so he is straight as well. This implies that traps are straight, but there are a few other examples for the gay side as well. Like, Well, Pico from Boku no Pico, so are traps gay?
FBI, open up!
Maybe. It depends on the character. More importantly, why does it matter if they are gay or not? Or if someone attracted to them is gay or not? Is it that important to argue over someone's sexuality, even someone's gender identity? Sadly, the idea that ContraPoints and the Pedantic Romantic made, that people do not want to face the reality that they are gay or people will consider them as such because of various reasons like social norms and religion, is real. As a result, this does more harm to the gay community, if anything. Another argument I saw while reading through the comments is that these videos do not touch upon how it affects gay men as it revolves around homosexuality. Men that are attracted to traps feel cheated and deceived, panicking the idea they themselves are gay and act like the victim. This creates the notion that homosexuality is evil, wrong, and disgusting when that is far from true. Plus, if anything, it says heterosexual men are attracted to feminine appearances. People have their own ideas of beauty, so when they are seeing a trap, they're thinking that person is a girl and becomes attracted to them. Different cultures and periods have different standards, such as some valuing husky people over skinny people. This can also reinforce stereotypes of gay men, where they are highly effeminate and do things associated with girls, when many gay men have their own personality and interests different from this idea. So, the meme can be seen as homophobic in a sense, but that is going by the definition I am using. If a trap is gay or not cannot be determined without a solid definition. Even then, it can still cause problems with the LGBT community based on perception. So, the question is if a meme that targets a specific person or a group of people that can possibly lead to violence against them is wrong to post. Well, it would seem to be yes, it is wrong, but that will not prevent people from doing so. If only we had a way to stop a meme. Look guys, it's PewDiePie, the slayer of memes. I know, I have a brilliant idea. Let's all post the R Traps Gay meme to the PewDiePie submission subreddit so it would be forced to show it on Meme Review. Since we all know Meme Review is where memes go to die, we can finally send the Traps meme to its grave. I mean, I found this meme near the top when viewing the subreddit, so the best time to strike is now. This is a 100% foolproof plan. Sadly, in all seriousness, this will probably land PewDiePie in more trouble with Vox and friends, making articles with the headlines, PewDiePie encourages transphobia and homophobia by posting a meme that contains slurs, or something stupid along those lines. I would not want to throw PewDiePie to the sharks just for this cause because he is the world's most lovable treasure at this point in time. If anything, more people would follow him and this may incite further transphobes and homophobes to promote him, so yeah. I went on a bit of a tangent, but I do understand memes can be fun, and I do not have a preference of the meme itself, but if it is causing distress to others, would it be too hard to stop posting it? Probably. I do not have an exact answer for this, but I think it is one problem alongside the definition of a trap. It is an effort to force people to stop doing something, and usually when others tell people to stop doing something without a probable cause, they will continue doing it because of the risk factors it entails in their mind that gives them an adrenaline rush. With that out of the way, let us dive into the final question of this video. Is Lily Hoshikawa transgender or a trap? Before I answer this, I want to say that I have not watched Zombieland Saga at all. While I could try to marathon it, I have other things to deal with like writing this currently 10-page essay. However, I will say that I did watch episode 8 to see if Lily is transgender or not. After watching it, I have to say, some people are taking things out of context. When I watched and read the different opinions on this topic, I was thinking the series of events where that Lily enters the entertainment industry after her father encourages her into a performance as Lily and not Masao, or something similar to those lines, where she starts puberty that leads to her death and fear of change. However, that is not exactly the case. I really want to focus on Appabend's video because he asserts that because Lily is a stage name different from Masao, Lily must be a trap, and her death comes from not being cute anymore due to puberty.
But there's one time where Lily locks herself in her room because she grows hair in her legs. That worries Lily because she's unable to look cute anymore with her hair. It's established that all this time, Lily is her stage name and that she has an old male name that her father called her.
While Lily Hoshikawa is indeed a stage name, there are certain things he either forgets or overlooks that can differ from this idea. Episode 8 starts with foreshadowing of Lily's father and Fushushu during their daily idol activities, when Lily's father shows up and causes a disruption by touching her. Lily's backstory appears shortly after, where Sakura goes to check up on Lily at the park. The viewers learn that Lily looks more like her mother, she watches the TV with her father due to the bond they form, and she decides to become a performer on TV so her father can see her and make him happy. The first problem with Appabend's stage name trap idea is why is Lily presenting as female before she becomes a performer? While it may be possible a child dresses in the clothing of the opposite gender from time to time as a child, that would seem awkward given the context and her backstory. Furthermore, she constantly refers to herself as Lily while explaining her backstory and does so even in the story herself. Usually, when a character refers to themselves in Japanese by their name, it signals either the person is a child, which can still be true for Lily's case, or something females use commonly instead of pronouns, which reinforces the idea that Lily sees herself as a girl. This becomes even more apparent after we see Lily exhausted from her activities while her father ignores her, and then we come to the scene where she passes away in. Constantly, her father refers to Lily as Masao, while Lily repeatedly refers to herself as Lily. She locks herself in her room because she gets leg hair due to puberty, and her father wants her to come out to get to their next show. According to Crunchyroll's translation, she said, Here's another issue that Appabend construes as he focuses on the hair rather than what is being said in the story. Appabend asserts that Lily wants to continue making her dream come true for her father to be happy by being a child performer, but she will not be cute anymore because of growing leg hair. That is the conflict. The problem is that this isn't the problem between Lily and her father. While she does wish to make her father happy, it isn't her dream to do so. She was already having happy moments with him by watching TV and thought that if she was on TV, they could watch her together to create happier memories. She never states it as a dream, and people wanting to do things for each other is basic human decency. Another thing is that while her reason for dying is shown, the implications of that reason are not. This contradicts Appabend's idea on her not being cute anymore, but it also doesn't support her having gender dysphoria either to be transgender. The only thing we have to go off of is that she argues about not wanting to grow up to look like her father. It doesn't confirm either detail as both are subjective. If anything, it suggests she wants to remain a child. Appabend is applying his own logic as facts when that isn't apparent in the episode, as most of it is subjective. Instead, we can gather context by going back to the child actress ordeal. Only once in the flashbacks does Lily's father call her Lily, when her career and popularity absorbs their lives, where he is her manager while she is exhausted when they are watching TV.
本日のゲストは星川リリーさんです。よろしくお願いします。よーしよし、いいぞリリー。よく笑顔だ。
The other times he calls Lily by Masuo instead, like when she is in her bedroom. This may complicate matters a bit, but the argument is over her father not seeing Lily as the real me, but instead sees her as someone on TV. This is strange given the context of the other flashback scene, but when you think about it, her father sees Lily as someone on TV, not his actual daughter, but something else entirely. Lily is a personality on TV that seems to be the work of both him and Masuo. When he speaks privately with Lily, he continuously calls her Masuo because he views her as his son at that moment and not as Lily. Deep down, Lily believes she is Lily and not Masuo, and is apparent in the text. Going back to how I mentioned that Lily speaks in the third person, if we look at the actual dialogue with her name instead of Crunchyroll's translation, it would go as follows.
そうやってパピーはテレビのリリーばっか見よる。本当のリリーのこと見てくれんやん。
From this point, we can see that is Lily identifying as Lily. Whether that is from being a transgender or something else isn't entirely clear here. The rest of the backstory continues to play out, but she dies from seeing facial hair on her face. While most transgender people wouldn't die from seeing this, I think, I presume that this is going for tragic comedy sakes. Another thing to note is that her room is that of a little girl's room, suggesting she lives as a girl. If she was a trap as an actress, it would seem weird to go all this way to have a female room at home unless she dresses in feminine clothing constantly while as a performer. However, as mentioned before, she dresses in these clothes in the flashbacks before signing up to be a child performer. Appabend forgets several pieces of information, and he plainly says he does not know much about gender dysphoria and being transgender, yet still believes Lily is a trap. This makes little sense given the context, because if Lily was cross-stitching, we don't know why this was happening at an early age as shown in her backstory, contradicting Appabend's definition a bit. All this backstory proves is Lily was born a boy, dresses as a girl, dies from hair growth due to puberty, and she identifies as Lily. If anything, Lily created an image in her head on how Lily should be perceived that would be distorted by growing up to look like her father. It doesn't prove she is a trap, and it doesn't prove she is transgender either. It proves that Lily identifies as Lily. Whether that is a boy, girl, or something in between, who knows? While thinking about this on my way home in the car, I think I figured out Appabend's line of logic, but I may be incorrect here. Because Lily still identifies as Lily, her stage name, he thinks it may relate to her possibly thinking she is actually Lily the actress and not Masuo. I may be wrong, but this does align with what I just said about her still identifying as Lily. This could explain things such as the girl's bedroom and consistently referring to herself as Lily, but that would mean she has to have something similar to a method actor, such as Jared Leto as the Joker, although that wouldn't mean she is a trap or transgender, but something else entirely different within her mentality. However, I do understand Appabend's concerns without knowing what it feels like to have gender dysphoria. I do not see many people talk about it, and if they do, it is in the most basic terms or as in a poetic language. I will create a second video discussing my ordeals with gender dysphoria to hopefully help explain what it is like. Now, the Pedantic Romantic and the Unknown Otaku touch upon Lily as well, and I want to throw some things out there. I think the Pedantic Romantic brought up a good point about the translations and Japanese text, and she does a fantastic job by reviewing it in her video. Something I am conflicted about is the use of Japanese to imply further evidence. I brought up the fact that Lily's name change is used by her to refer to herself, but we do not know why she changed it or why she refers to herself in the third person. While it can support her being transgender from a feminine perspective, the child perspective can go against it since she says she doesn't want to grow up. The show suggests she is transgender, and I do agree with that, but throwing around the idea that the Japanese clearly says she is transgender is extremely dangerous in this situation because of the child aspect of her character and how it plays with her name and the pronouns. Now, on the other hand, the Unknown Otaku mentions the conspiracy as well, where Crunchyroll changes the translation to imply Lily is more feminine, but I do not see it in that case. We do not know the reasons she chooses her name or refers to herself as such. The other characters talk about Lily being a boy or a girl, but it is Sakura and Lily that both say Lily is still Lily. This could imply Lily is her own gender from the dialogue in the entire episode, just like how Hideyoshi is Hideyoshi, that the Unknown Otaku jokingly mentions in their video. Most likely, it is implying that people should see each other for who they are. There were some posts about Lily being male to X gender, but I am not too fond discussing that topic as I am not too knowledgeable on it. Overall, I would say Lily is Lily. Personally, I would say she is transgender, but the textual evidence points to Lily being Lily. Now, the Unknown Otaku's definition of a trap could still be correct, as she probably still has male genitals, but that is only if we are using their definition. Right now, trap as a definition is all over the place, so it would be best to use it wisely. In summary, my main point was to target a problem I saw within the community about definitions. I tried to be as middle ground as possible and hear each side's arguments, although I did go overboard with Appabend. I do not want to present myself as attacking them, as that isn't my intention. When creating arguments, people try to bend and twist their words to make their points valid and the only correct ones, especially with definitions. However, on a deeper look, it seems people are arguing over the details of two separate things. At the end of the day, people are going to be arrogant and live in their own echo chambers to make themselves feel righteous. I wanted to dismantle that and show people from different sides coming together over an issue that plagues most of the internet. So, I want to demonstrate that right now. For the people featured in this video, if you somehow happen to watch it and you feel I did not get your views correct or didn't answer your point, please tell me and I'll make the changes in YouTube's editor to remove the point or add a large note. An example of this is that the Unknown Otaku does not straight out say that traps are gay. They say in their video that people are attracted to sex. I use that as a basis to say that they agree that traps are gay, but I could be wrong and they may have a different interpretation. I do want to say, please go check out each person in this video and make your own decisions. Appabend, ContraPoints, Miss ZZ, the Pedantic Romantic, and the Unknown Otaku all make great content to explain their rich ideas on different topics, especially revolving around society. Also, go subscribe to PewDiePie, who is also featured in this video, and Ella Grant, who makes an appearance when going over Miss ZZ's video. While I do not condone the ideas and actions of some, I do think they should have their voices heard no matter what. As for traps as a slur, a meme, and Lily, I think we need to answer these problems by first determining the conditions to make a trap a trap. This could eliminate it as a slur, but that depends on if people share the authenticated definition, so people are not confused between a trap and transgender, and they use it appropriately. This could make the "Are Traps Gay" meme valid, but since it does affect homosexuals as well, it would probably be best to tread lightly on using it. Even so, the sexuality appears to be on the individual, as some could be gay and some could have wives and children relating to traps. Still, this may not change everyone's minds on traps being men or not, because they'll insist based on biological sex or something, and they would still use traps to insult trans women. Finally, I do believe Lily is transgender. Whether that is MTF or even MTX, I do not know exactly if that appears to be the case, regardless of the number of genders you think exists, that she could still be trans. From the text, though, it is implied Lily is Lily. She doesn't say she is transgender, but she does say she is Lily. Thank you everyone for watching this long video. I appreciate your time watching it. If you have any criticisms on how I presented my ideas, such as if they are confusing or have suggestions for improvements, please leave them in the comments below. I want to encourage criticism since it seems many people from all over do not take criticism lightly. I worked on the pace of speech this video, as suggested by this commenter. Now, for my honest views on trap. I do not think it is a problematic word, but I do understand why some people feel that way. Similarly, the thing I see often about these discussions on LGBTQ+ issues is that some heterosexual or cisgender people feel left out of the conversation when others tell them not to talk about their issues. I think this appears misguided, as each person has something valuable to contribute to the discussion, which is why I featured multiple people from different backgrounds in this video. I do think people should hear each other's ideas, but I think if their people are forcing their ideas onto other people without a probable cause, that would become problematic. Anyway, I had several things cut out of the video that I briefly want to touch upon here. In regards to Appabend, I think his perspective on Lily Hoshikawa was different from the others, but did not get his point across well, at least to me. He cites many things as facts, but in actuality, most of them are subjective. People kept saying Lily didn't want to lose her cuteness from puberty, but she never said it, nor did her father. It could be implied since she would be going from Lily to her father's appearance, but that doesn't mean it is true. ContraPoints did a fantastic video on answering the question of are traps gay, but she barely touches upon the homosexual factor. I wish she would have explored it more, but since she focuses primarily on transgender issues, it is understandable. The Pedantic Romantic did a video on the history of traps that is great as well. However, saying traps do not exist seems like she is gatekeeping in my opinion. Transgender people have been denied their existence by many people before, so I think it is a bit hypocritical to say traps do not exist. I know she suggests different words to use when referring to anime characters, but there are people who exist that identify as a trap as a profession in real life. I had a section about how other languages adapt terms from other countries, such as English using tsunami to refer to large waves, and Japanese using mehen for fairy tales. Countries like South Korea and Brazil are starting to use trap, yet it is minor as of now. The Unknown Otaku and Miss Zizi are the ones whose definition I align with the most, yet I think they should be separate with no overlap in the case of Miss Zizi. I do not have any problems with her video, but she has a question pertaining to fetishizing traps and trans women that seem unlikely in her case, but I do want to say it does occur. I tried to not use personal stories in this video, but when people told me to change my gender on Twitch from female to MTF transgender, as I would be lying to my viewers, it brought in a lot of chasers. The problem is people think that transgender and trap are the same thing, and as a result, whenever I mentioned my progress towards gender confirmation surgery, they would say things like, "Oh, don't do that, your penis is beautiful and you should keep it." This felt demeaning to me, but I did not put it in a perspective on how people have misconceptions on this topic. Since Miss Zizi separates trap and transgender, there's no problem with it, but I think this is something that needs attention because people can cause harm due to the confusion with no definition. As for the Unknown Otaku, I enjoyed their video, but I did want to answer something I found interesting. At 7 minutes and 30 seconds, he brings up Tanya from Yojo Senki and says she is transgender because of the literal definition of a male trapped in a female's body. Yet, people do not say she is one. I thought this was interesting, but it brought up several topics I would like to explore later on, Or, if you feel you're up to it, maybe someone else out there wants to look through these as well. First, I've only watched the show's first few episodes during a Twitch marathon, but from what I remember, the character doesn't have gender dysphoria. While some will say you do not need to have gender dysphoria to be transgender, I think it offers an interesting perspective on how people view this. I tried to think of other anime and manga that did something similar, and it seems people may believe that if you change bodies, you inherit the brain chemistry of that gender. For example, in Idol Pretender, the manliest man changes into a girl, but confesses her love to a man at the end of the series, and she experiences things as a female and lives as one permanently. Similar things happen in Simone, where the girls need to choose their own gender to live as for the rest of their lives, and Cheeky Angel, although the ending of this series is a bit difficult to imply. It seems to imply that when you change sex, you inherit the traits of that sex. It speaks volumes that these series try to picture the most emasculating thing a male goes through is to become a woman. However, other series like Camphor and Yamada-kun and the Seven Witches seem to have different matter on this interpretation, as the characters practically remain the same even when they change bodies. Something else I thought of while thinking about this is, while reviewing Otoboku and H2O, is that they have characters that pull off the other gender better than the ones who are that gender. For example, Mizuho acts more feminine and appears more beautiful than the other females, where she gets the most attention from. This seems to be a case in several anime and manga, as well as Western media, including the reverse. You have characters like Nagisa from Nyankoi, Yu Kashima from Nozaki-kun, and Kaoru Asagi from Kabukibu, who are the most handsome characters and present as male. It brings up some interesting ideas and conflicts, such as how TERFs do not want so-called men to be women, as they may fear that these so-called men can actually be a woman far better than them in appearance and mannerisms. If you think about comedy shows such as Rugrats, Codename Kids Next Door, and the Powerpuff Girls, they often have a male character trying to invade a female-only space, particularly a slumber party, as they feel left out or are curious. This may reinforce the notion of TERF's hatred towards trans women, as it is an outsider, and possibly an enemy that can be a rival to them. However, for the reverse, men seem to either not care or be jealous that the character gets the attention of females. Something else to consider is that if there are many trans people who can pass, and there are these tropes out there, maybe it suggests that human facial features are supposed to be an evolutionary trait that is neutral for some reason. I may explore these ideas later on, but I wanted to point this out in response to the Unknown Otaku, as people may not consider aspects in the story, or it reflects their thinking that since it is a boy now in a girl's body, their brain is realigned to match the body. Now, this was a long end card. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I hope you look forward to my next project. Thank you, and I wish all of you a beautiful day.